Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Council of Juvenile Correctional Administrators and the Center for Coordinated Assistance to States Informational Call for the Staff Recruitment and Retention TTA application process. I want to thank all of you for registering for today's call and taking the time out of your busy schedules to focus on this important issue and working to improve conditions of confinement and, most importantly, working to improve long-term outcomes for youth entrusted to our care. My name is Mike Dempsey, and I'm the Executive Director for the Council of Juvenile Correctional Administrators. Also on the call today is Sharon Pett, who is serving as the Project Manager for the Staff Recruitment and Retention Toolkit Cohort Program. Today's call focuses on Staff Recruitment and Retention and Juvenile Facilities Training and Technical Assistance Program. We also have Wendy Faulkner and Darlene Conroy, who are also joining our call from our office in Braintree, Massachusetts. For those of you who might be new to CJCA, we're a national nonprofit organization formed in 1994 to improve juvenile justice systems, local secure correctional and residential facilities, services, programs, and most importantly, long-term outcomes for youth and their families. CJCA represents the youth juvenile justice system CEOs in all 50 states, Puerto Rico, and various major metropolitan counties all across the country. This program is made possible through funding from the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Justice Programs, and Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. Through this grant opportunity, the American Institute for Research, the Council of Juvenile Correctional Administrators, and the Georgetown University McCourt School of Public Policy Center for Juvenile Justice Reform have partnered to form the Center for Coordinated Assistance to States. CCAS coordinates the delivery of TTA to states, communities, territories, and tribal units looking to improve outcomes for at-risk youth and youth involved in the juvenile justice and child welfare systems. The focus of the center is to provide ongoing training and technical assistance to achieve individual and or organizational changes and support that positively impact the juvenile justice systems. At this point, I want to turn it over to Sharon, who's going to begin with the project overview and application process for this particular TTA program. Sharon, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you, Mike. Good afternoon, everyone, or actually morning if you're on the Pacific Northwest or in the mountain region. Just want to really quickly, before we get started here, just want to let folks know that if you cannot hear us, everyone's going to be muted in this call. So if you have any questions, we're asking folks to please type them in the chat box to the at the bottom of your screen there to the right. So we're going to be asking for questions periodically throughout this presentation, and then of course at the end, so we don't want to turn you loose. Make sure you have all your questions answered. So I'll get started here. All right, so I just want to say that who I am. So I'm Sharon Pett, as Mike explained. I'm a consultant who's been working with CJCA over the past 5-6 years or so on a variety of projects. Most recently, the development of the CJCA Staff Recruitment, Hiring, and Retention Toolkit. So as Mike mentioned, we have a tremendous opportunity through CCAS to provide a cohort of jurisdictions intensive technical assistance and training over the course of the next 9 or 10 months or so. And this TA is specifically targeted to addressing recruitment, hiring, and retention with a focus on direct care or direct service staff. So obviously the purpose of this call is to kind of give you more information, a few more details than what was in the application, in the hopes that you'll have a re-spark or be enthusiastic about submitting your application in a couple weeks. So I just want to say that first off, that just to be clear about who can apply, any agency or even whether it be county or state level or within the tribal communities are eligible to participate in the program. So the program is free to those jurisdictions who are selected because, again, as Mike mentioned, this opportunity is powered by the funds provided by CCAS through OJDPA. So I want you to know that this is a very intensive TA program that includes a series of webinars and monthly individual calls with participants. Since this is the inaugural year, we're kind of taking it kind of as a pilot. It will be very structured, and obviously we'll have professional folks and panelists with a a litany of experiences that will really be helpful, I think, in sharing their knowledge and wisdom. But it is a pilot, so we're going to be hoping that you'll be able to give us feedback if you're selected for the jurisdiction on how it goes, because hopefully we will be getting funding. If it goes well, we'll be getting funding for future years for other cohorts, and we'll be using your information and your feedback to shape those future cohorts. So because it is our inaugural year, we're only going to be able to support 3 jurisdictions in this first year in 2019. Again, our hope is that if it goes well, we'll get funding for future cohorts. So, but again, we'll be supporting 3 folks to participate. So the primary goal of the TA is to assist sites in developing a strategic work plan to improve recruitment, hiring, and retention practices. So the program will begin late February, early March, and run through November. And the technical support basically tackles 6 main areas. And these areas are agency and facility culture, recruiting and hiring staff, staff retention, the role of staff wellness and safety, succession planning and leadership development, and using data to drive change. So again, we'll be at the end of the 9-month program, our hope is that these jurisdictions will have a comprehensive action plan that will include all these pieces. Okay, so let me talk a little bit about the structure of the actual TA. So there are 4 main components you can see there on the screen. There are webinars, there's monthly team conference calls, there's monthly team leader check-ins, and a team leader collaboration and networking meeting. So I'm kind of going to just run through these, kind of give you a little bit more information about them. So the webinars, there's going to be 3 of these, and they're going to be 1.5 hours in length. And the dates of the webinars are still in the process of being finalized, but we do have one currently scheduled for March 13th from 1 to 2:30 Eastern Time. So the initial webinar is going to include a number of panelists who will walk through the different pieces of the CJCA staffing toolkit. And we'll be talking about basically the research, what the research says about recruitment, hiring, and retention, as well as the panels will be providing specific strategies that you may want to consider in each of those areas. And the second webinar is going to take place in May. Again, the date's still being finalized, but it's going to be focused solely on facility culture and go into a bit more detail about staff retention. And the third and final webinar will take place in September, and that will focus on staff wellness and the significant role that it plays in retaining qualified direct care staff. So again, these webinars are available to everyone, even if you don't get selected to participate in the TA, and even those folks who never applied for the TA. So encourage everyone to, once we have those dates, Darlene will be sending out those dates so you can get those on your calendar. Okay, so the second component of the TA program are those monthly team conference calls. So these calls are between the individual jurisdiction and the project manager, which is me, these calls are going to be about 1.5 hours in length. And once you get selected, what you'll be doing is you'll be compiling a team of individuals who will participate in the 9-month program, and will be participating in these calls. And so basically, it's going to be jurisdiction and myself walking through a very structured agenda and a structured process using various lead management tools to help you take a closer look at, staff retention and recruitment. So these calls will begin April and go through September. I think I have up there, yep, it says 6, there'll be a total of 6 calls. And again, these calls are going to be interactive with you and your team, 1.5 hours in length. We're going to work you hard, but we believe that the end product of each of those meetings is going to be very helpful in moving the dial, so to speak, on your workforce. The third component, it basically is brief team leader check-ins. These are just short half-hour meetings between myself and the team leader of your particular jurisdiction. So again, these are individual calls, and the purpose really is just to kind of check in and on progress, troubleshoot any issues that have surfaced since the previous monthly meeting, and provide any resources that your jurisdiction needs to be successful. And then the fourth and final component is a team leader collaboration and networking meeting. And this is basically just for the team leaders. And basically, we get together for about 1.5 hours or so just to share some ideas, discuss challenges, and generate some solutions to some of the issues that are kind of popping up. So it really is, this is a one-time meeting. We're expecting that we're going to hold that probably in July or August, but it really is a valuable opportunity to kind of network and collaborate with, you know, those like-minded people who are sharing a similar experience, so kind of leaning on one another. So let me just pause here real quickly just to ask to see if we have any questions so far before I move on to sharing some other things that you want to keep in mind, some important dates and some resources. So do we have any questions so far?
Sharon, there are no questions so far.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. So, okay. So I want to mention just two pieces to keep in mind. The work that we're going to be doing in this, as I kind of just described, is extremely intensive. I say that not to scare you off, but kind of to get you excited and committed. So I just want to emphasize that the application review committee that reviews applications, we're going to be looking for those jurisdictions whose leaders have made staff recruitment and retention an agency priority and who are deeply committed to engaging in this work. So as part of the TA cohort, in addition to the 4 components that we kind of just ran through, we expect that the teams are also going to need to meet prior to the monthly meeting in order to be prepared for the work that we do during the monthly call. So essentially, if you think about it, it's basically what we expect is that they'll probably be meeting internally, let's say at week 2, and then have their monthly meeting at week 4, and kind of cycle back like that every other month. So basically meeting twice a month. So we're asking that if you're considering applying for this TA opportunity, to please make sure that you and your agency are deeply committed and really are ready to kind of carve out that time and free people up to participate in a meaningful way in these monthly or biweekly meetings. So we need folks really ready to show up ready to improve the quality of the workforce. And the second thing I just want to mention is that priority candidates for the TA program are going to be those jurisdictions who currently collect some staffing related data or are in the process of creating systems to gather that information. So it's not required, but it really would be helpful as we want to continue to use data to inform our decisions, especially related to these recruitment, retention, and hiring folks. So if you're interested in applying for the TA program, important dates to kind of keep in mind here. The most important one, obviously, is to get your application in, and that's the due date on that is COB by Thursday, February 14th. Applications will be submitted to Darlene Conroy from CJCA. So if you haven't already started your application, that still gives you about 2 weeks or so from today. So you definitely have some time to put that together and submit your application. So we expect to have a lot of applications to review, or we hope to. So we hope that you can really pay attention to that target date of February 14th, because really I think we're going to have to kind of stick to that. So if you get it in, we'll give you a 1 day extra on the 15th, but really we need to start reviewing those applications, the review committee, right away. So we hope that you can kind of stick to that target date. Let's see. So then basically we're going to be letting folks know whether or not they were selected our goal is by March 1st. And then you have up there, you can see March 13th is that first webinar, and then April through October, the dates. So the dates up there, just to remind folks, the March 13th, we're pretty solid on that. Just have one more person to confirm with. But the May 7th and the August 20th and the September 10th are ones that we're still kind of working through. Those are our target dates right now. But if you want to make sure that you're on the list to be aware of those webinars, please let Darlene know, and she'll make sure that you have the most recent date as they come out, as we verify those, confirm those, and as well as the the link to participate. So I want to share a few resources with you before I hand the floor over to Mike again, just to close us out. And of course, I'll ask at the end if folks have any more questions. But I'll just share with you a few resources. So one is, obviously, I mentioned the CJCA Staff Recruitment Toolkit that was published earlier this year, actually just a few weeks ago, actually, so it's hot off the press. That is available in an electronic version on the CJCA website underneath the Resources tab, and then you go to the Publications section. So for those of you who haven't visited the CJCA website lately, they offer a number of really valuable resources and toolkits on various subjects, such as reducing isolation and positive youth development. So I really encourage everyone to check out the CJCA website. They offer a lot of great resources. So the second resource that we have available to everyone is the Staff Recruitment and Retention Shared Resource Folder. that is also housed on the CJCA website. So this folder is accessible through the toolkit. And so again, once again, this is just another avenue for resources. The shared resource folder really is kind of a repository, I'd say, for has articles and templates, examples of surveys, and other documents from other jurisdictions as it relates to the topic of recruitment and retention. So our intention really is to continue to populate this shared resource folder and keep it up so it can serve as a current resource for folks as the years roll on. So, and then the third resource I'd like to mention is that we've worked with our CCAS partners, mainly the American Institute of Research, to create additional tools that you can use with your team when working on workforce development. So I think I could best describe these tools as facilitation guides. So we provide basically a list of questions in various areas, and we're hoping that these questions will help you kind of lead a discussion with your team around the current state of your recruitment, hiring, and retention, and possible strategies that you may consider implementing in the future. So these also are housed on the shared resource folder on the CJCA website. So let's see. So yeah, those are the tool guides. So I think those are all the resources that I wanted to share. So before I hand the floor over to Mike, I just want to encourage everyone to take advantage of this opportunity. The review committee and myself included look forward to reviewing your applications. And before I hand it off, I'll just ask anyone if they have any other questions for us.
Sharon, there is a question. I'm going to read it. Is there a minimum size of workforce facility to be eligible for this grant?
Not from my understanding, no. There is not a minimum size of the facility, no.
Thank you.
Yep. Welcome everyone to apply. Anything else? Either I provided folks with too much information or went too fast and everyone's lost, or we explained it very well and we have no more questions. I'm hoping it's the latter. So if we don't have any more questions, I'll just hand it back over to Mike to close us out.
All right, thanks, Sharon. So to everybody on the call, pretty quick call, pretty straightforward information. I want to thank you all again for participating on the call today. Thank you all very much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to focus on this important issue and working to improve staff recruitment and retention efforts. I can say this, that as we worked on this project over the last 12 months, one of the things that really became very clear to me is just how important staff wellness is, how important staff how we train staff and how staff respond to youth behavior issues has a profound impact on the culture and the atmosphere of the facilities. And then that in turn has a huge impact on staff retention and our turnover issues that have just historically plagued our facilities in the juvenile justice system. So this is really important work and focusing. I think you'll see that as we get into the work on the toolkit itself, that there is a heavy focus on the staff wellness issue. So thank you all again. There should be a recording of this call. Will be posted on CJCA website along with Sharon's PowerPoint presentation. I'd like to encourage everyone to apply to receive the grant-funded SRR TTA program. And unfortunately, we will only be able to select 3 jurisdictions for this first-year cohort, but we hope to be able to provide this program again in future years and be able to expand the number of facilities or jurisdictions that we can involve in that. Thank you all again very much. If you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to us on the emails that are provided on the screen. And thank you again. Have a great day. Bye-bye.